Hello everybody, welcome to G for G here on YouTube. I am your host with the most, channeling the best of the best and the least of the least here in Marvel Future Fight. Today's topic for the video is the fallout of the changes in the latest patch. When you guys look at her, do you not think like it's Miss Marvel with Destroyer spikes? I mean, that's what when I think of her. I think of like Wonder Woman on the belt, Miss Marvel's mask and hair, and Destroyer's spikes. So keep that mental image there of Titania, and now let's look at these spikes. I mean, I don't know. I think it's close. And then if you go back to the older uniform, the spikes aren't quite as big, but oh hi, I didn't know he had an upgrade. I never really used my Destroyer. He has a lot of use in Alliance Conquest against energy teams. He's a good anchor for spots, but I haven't touched my Destroyer in a while. So, let's discuss the kind of bad side of this most recent patch. So I did a video that discussed the uniforms and Kid Kaiju and Thanos, new characters. That's not what this video is. This video is, so this patch has been simmering on the stove with us for a while now, and comments are cropping up, and there's a lot of upset people about it. For one, unequipping all the urus, I don't know why exactly it happened. That's irritating. And here's something that is really funny, okay? So we were told the urus are getting unequipped, you have to equip them again. Some people are like, shit, I wish I really knew, I would have written things down. I want to show you something. So Ulrich has an ability that says when he crits, things reset. Where is that? Is it Rockhide? Resets cooldown for skill. Alright. 30% rate when dealing a critical attack applies to self. So this is a double blackjack over here, double slots. He has a percentage to crit, and then once he crits, he then has a percentage to reset all his abilities. So if his crit rate is 70%, he has a 70% chance to crit, and then when he hits a crit, 30% of that crit has a chance to reset his cooldowns. Obviously, if you're critting more often, say 100% of the time, you are reducing this crapshoot over here to just 30. But if you're below 100, you're at, say, 50%, you have a 1 in 2 chance to crit, and then this chance kicks in. So, I built my Ulrich all about crit. And that's what his options were, and that's what his urus were about. So I want to show you something about urus over here. Now this thing that I'm doing, that's a thing that pissed a lot of people off. So now he's back up to 60. A lot of people were very upset at the amount of money that they spent working on their gears, only to have all that money essentially be thrown in the fire by reducing it to just one special now. And all the work they did previously goes out the window. To that I will say, well, at least the current reroll is only 1 gold. I think Netmarble knew fallout would happen from that, and said, well, at least we'll basically make it free. The question is, how long will it be free? Are we in just a grace period where Netmarble's like, yeah, we know we're kind of fucking up on this one, so we're going to give you a little bit of a break over here. And then a month down the road, it's like, okay, the grace period's done. You guys should be adapted by now. Back up to 1,000 gold or 10,000, you know, whatever it is. So here's something really, really funny. Look at his ISO, 4334, okay? None of these ISOs are ones that I had on him prior to the patch or after. Where did this shit come from? Random 1-star hit point and physical defense ones, I can tell you this was not me, because I was building him for crit. And at one point, he had like a 75% chance to crit. I updated his obelisk, and I lost a crit obelisk into what he has now. But his urus were definitely about crit, and if anything, they might have had energy defense because he happens to have pretty good physical defense. I did not do these shitty urus in here. I did not do them pre-patch. I certainly did not do them post-patch. I mean, like, okay, this uru right here, the critical rate, that's the kind of thing that I would have had in him. Is like things like that, maybe a little bit of skill cooldown, maybe a little bit of hit points, but I would have been throwing crit just about everywhere I can. Not physical defense, and not hit points, and not 1 stars. I don't know how that happened. Has anybody else experienced that? I mean, geez, that didn't even make a dent in his crit rate. Or wait, am I maxed out? I don't think I'm maxed out. Gear 41, 17, cards 8. Wait a minute. Am I maxed out? Is that a new max over there? Huh. I think, yeah, okay, 75%. I might be maxed out. I might have been, I think I misread that the first time. I don't know. Let me try one more crit over here. Who had the stupid crit ones? Okay, there we go. So, definitely don't need physical defense. Let's try... Oh, wait a minute. It's just 2. Okay. Let's do another one over here. Alright, so equip it. We'll go for the empty slot. Alright, now let's take a look at his crit rate. Oop, yep, okay, so he's at the max. That's good to know. Might have wasted, but like I didn't put those there until just now. I don't know why his urus are the way they are. My Sharog was such a joke. Like, I was looking at her, I was like, yeah, let me rebuild my Sharog. And this is, like, ridiculous. Again, physical defenses and hit points. I don't know where they came from. I need to fix her. And it's now a really daunting task to think, man, I have to fix all my characters' urus now. And God, which ones did I really put urus into? Which ones was I really giving top-of-the-line shit? I mean, Doctor Strange, Sharog, Carnage, Wolverine, now even like my Magneto, they were certainly getting top-of-the-line. But hell if I remember what everybody else was getting. You know, where I stopped. Like Kid Kaiju, physical. You know. Did anybody else have this happen? I mean, I thought they just was taking all the Uru out. Does anybody have random Urus now or something like that? It's really strange. So, for the nitty-gritty of this episode, we're talking about the very split community on, which kind of reflects the state of America, if you think about it. Whether or not the new dailies are good or bad, and how people feel about them. The one thing I will say, though, is at least pay attention to the math of this, okay? In a week time period, you cap out your rewards at 30. There's 5 in a day, 7 days out of the week, 5 times 5, 35. So you have 5 dailies in a 7-day period that you can miss or not do. Essentially, you could even miss a full day of dailies. And yes, you're going to miss out on your 25 and all your energy and your shield points, but your maximum reward is at least still accessible if you do all the others. Well, These new dailies, there are certainly... God, that is a nice butt. There are certainly new dailies out there that are causing some controversies. And people are getting upset about it. So, like, for my dailies, do a daily one time. Okay. Do a dimension rift one time. Granted, dimension rifts are not as hard to come by as they used to be, but they are still one of the biggest energy sucks. And not everybody necessarily does a dimension rift every day. I don't. When the world boss ones are up, I will do them. It's extra shot at BAM. On a given day, I'm not necessarily in a dimension rift. Yes, I'm hurting myself for uniform upgrades with that. I certainly do realize that, but it's just not really part of my daily routine. Upgrading a card, again, not part of my daily routine if I'm not doing dimension rifts per day. However, at the higher levels, you should probably always be tweaking your cards until you really get the stats that you want. So that's one of those things that you kind of should be working on your cards a little bit. But if you're casual, different story. Co-op. This is one of the first times I've seen co-op appear here. That's a sketchy one. That one's middle of the road annoying. Not like super annoying. Again, co-op is something that higher players do because you can pull in a lot of gold from it. You get a lot of good ISOs and everything. And, you know, it's autoplay. If you're running an emulator like this, you could set it to do the co-ops. You can wash the dishes. And it's all good. World boss. Okay, now we're getting into some of the shit over here. World boss, alliance battle, and hard for villain siege. Those are some of the ones that little on the sketchy side. And world boss invasion. I mean, I had world boss invasion on Saturday as one of my dailies. Now, again, this is something that I was really active in when it first came out, when it was like kind of new and sexy and everything, and then some people in the Alliance were sort of down on it. They're like, it's a waste of time, and, you know, people are stupid, they don't know how to hit the button, or it's like they sabotage the bonus rewards, blah, blah, blah. And I sort of got talked out of doing WBI daily. And now it shows up as a daily. It's not awful because, again, you can kind of autopilot a little bit. And, you know, you can get carried. But I personally don't like being a drain. If I didn't have a very good roster for it, I'd be a little upset if I was getting carried, honestly. I would feel like poo. And, you know, I mean, obviously everybody's T2 when they go in there, but your other stats matter, and it certainly can be the case that you go in there and you just do absolute shit damage because your character is really level 15 behind, you know, that Halloween costume of being a tier 2. And nice, good job, Kid Kaiju. That's Alliance Battle, World Bosses, Hard Villain Siege, some of the others. This is where the controversy is. Now, I have two stances on the matter. I will say the first one first because it is the harsher one, but it's also very matter of fact. If you are like me and you are part of an active alliance, you are part of an alliance that is competitive on ABX, alliance conquests and everything like that, none of these dailies are probably really going to be a big deal for you. And if you have the roster to be competitive in those things, you shouldn't be complaining. As a matter of fact, a lot of alliances have restrictions and rules that you have to do certain things every day, like AB and ABX. I know for mine, I can say, hey, I've got a vacation, I might not have the time to do it, and I'll be okay. But if I were to miss like 3 days of AB and ABX, I'm getting kicked. So none of those people should really be surprised by something like that. And they probably really even shouldn't have much of a complaint about it. It almost feels like Netmarble is trying to steer you towards some of the higher up things in the game with these new dailies. It's like they're giving you a gentle push to discover more about the game than maybe you really knew about if you were a casual. Now, I think the people who have really good rosters, who've been playing for more than a year, you shouldn't complain too much about the dailies. However, the big question is, and this is where I need input from you guys, because I'm generally immune to the effects of this, but is Netmarble... Oh, this is going to... I bet you I get about a good 85% of the damage done out of this one. Is Netmarble going to ask you to do a daily that you are not... Wow! I was mid-tier on that. Holy shit. But it was balanced. That's good, though. It's always nice to see a 33, 33, 33 split there. Anyway. Are you seeing dailies that your roster is just physically not capable of doing? So, alright, I had to do co-op today. As we scroll by, we see that the lowest co-op capable person I have is Shitty Miles Morales at 40. So, Yahoo, Shit Morales 40, that's my lowest one. What happened if my roster is a bunch of 20s and 30s? Is the game going to dole out that daily to me? And I get to sit here and say, Jesus Christ, I can't do it because I'm not allowed to compete in it. My roster is physically not capable of doing this daily. Fuck you, Netmarble. Like, I want to know if people are experiencing that. Mind you, I'm not asking if you as a player are incapable of doing something. Is he missing an Infinity Stone? It almost looks like one got chipped out of his gauntlet over there. Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's 5. He's just missing number 6. No, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. He has only... There's the knuckle one. The orange. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright. Anyway. I'm not asking if you as a player are incapable of doing a daily. For example, you're getting asked to do a world boss. You have to do that world boss on a day where you're not particularly good at that boss. Your roster's sketchy, but it like kills procs, it kills Black Dwarf, but you can't kill Supergiant. That's a little bit different. I really want to know if people are getting asked to do dailies that their roster just simply is not allowed to do. That's what I'm really curious about. Is there an algorithm to Netmarble's new dailies that prevent the system from asking you to do something you are not tall enough to ride that ride? That's you know, if you go on a class field trip that says ride Space Mountain and you need to be 60 inches tall to ride it and you're only 50, are you going to get an F? Are you going to fail that class? Like, that's what I'm curious about. And I mean, yes, we do have the 5 missed daily buffer, but I still would find it very, very unfair if you get asked to do something you're not capable of doing. Now, I've seen some I mean, I don't visit the Mobile Run forums, but I've been linked to a few threads where people are really upset about the new dailies. And one guy's like, no, you don't understand. I play this game casually, blah, blah, blah. Doing this, that, and the other thing is not part of what I do. Here's another example. Are you going to get asked to do an alliance battle if you're not part of an alliance? That's another daily I'm really curious about. That would be awful if the system did that. I mean, being asked to do a world boss when your roster is only barely capable of doing it, that's challenging, and you should think of it as, wow, I have this as dailies now. Maybe I should get better at world bosses. But being asked to do something like AB when you're not even in an alliance, That is kind of trash. And yes, I do have some fundamental issues on some of the new dailies. Not for me, but for the average Joe player. Like Villain Siege Hard. I certainly can remember what it was like to do Villain Siege Hard back in the day when I just didn't really have a roster that could do hard. Maybe I had like one guy, and sometimes you could get away with it. I mean, there was that gray period where, you know, you could kind of get away with it, and then other times where it was like, man, I have no shot at doing this hard Villain Siege. That's another thing. Like, I wonder if you have a bunch of 30s and 40s, are you being asked to do question mark level 60 plus Villain Siege as a daily? Oh, good. No Spider-Man. I'm really curious about that. Are you being asked to do alliance battles if you're not an alliance? Are you being asked to kill a world boss when you've never killed any? Are you being asked to kill a world boss when you don't have a roster that's allowed in? Or maybe you only have 3 that are capable of world bossing, but they're certainly not going to be able to kill it. I'm curious about that. Like, I can imagine a PvP daily, like, do 5, and you be like, man, I never do 5. I liked my 1. Can I just have my 1 back? Poor Elsa. This is not the class makeup over here. And, you know, for some people like this over here, playing on an emulator, world bosses and alliance battles, especially AVX and whatnot, I mean, they require a decent amount of skill. I don't like doing world bosses or alliance battles on, you know, Nox here and everything, because you don't have that fun. Wow, this tough storm here. Probably gonna lose this one. I am so, by the way, I am so, like, ridiculously sick of seeing fucking tier 2 hobo Spider-Man in my goddamn alliance battles, and that, like, perma fucking webbing and everything is, wow. Kid Kaiju trounced a probably superior Carnage. Yeah, I will skip any timeline battle where I see that fucking Spider-Man now. Yes, I could get a immune to snare or immune to web obelisk, but I think that's ridiculous, because then, you know, with restrictions and everything, that would change who gets that daily. Fucking hate that Spider-Man. I would rather a week where he was restricted than a Doctor Strange or a Sharog or something, but anyway. That's neither here nor there. So I'm curious, guys, are you being asked to do dailies that you just can't do? Are you being asked to do dailies that you're not that good at or you don't like to do? That's fine. I'd like to hear that too. But are you being asked to do dailies that your roster just isn't allowed to even walk in the front door? You know, specials, timelines. You know, we've had that for a long time, but some of the stuff, you know, it's pretty high up. I find Dimension Rifts obnoxious to do, and like having to do cards and whatnot. I mean, that's only middle of the road. I don't think that's the most awful things to have to do, but I'll tell you, pretty much pre-patch, what I did on any given day was I did my dailies, I did my 2 alliance battles that I had to do, and that's what I felt I had to do every day, was my dailies and my alliance battles. The extraneous stuff was sometimes a Dimension Rift, usually not. World bosses, I started to get back into them. I was very big into them when they were challenging and I was inventing crazy teams to work on. I mean, I was keeping notes. And then you know, ABX came out, and I started being able to get into the ABXs, and now, like, survive to the end and everything, so that's where all my focus went, and World Bosses disappeared for a little while for me, until I needed BAM to upgrade some people, and then I started getting back into World Bosses again, and now, most of the teams that I can throw in there, I can do is just the brain-dead click buttons on the emulator, other than, like, Thanos and i-Thanos. Woe be to the people who do a world boss on i-Thanos Day. Saturdays, man. I really hope Netmarble never does that, because that would be fucking stupidly ridiculous if Netmarble's like, hey, your dailies do a world boss, and it's i-Thanos Day. That's crap. That is not friendly to just about anybody but the highest of the high right there. Yeah, so there is definitely a school of people, a school of thought. There's some upsetness going on around this, and it's sort of like the division you see in MMOs, like in World of Warcraft. You could be a WoW player to get into a guild to raid the highest of the high. But then again, now even raiding is, you could be in a guild that's content to do normal and heroics, or you might be in a guild that runs mythics, which is the highest of the high. You could get into WoW just to be a PvPer. You could get into WoW to be casual. And you can find like-minded people. Like, you in this game might be part of an alliance that doesn't force you to do ABs and ABXs. It's more social. They, like, don't care about conquest. Maybe they would even register for conquest. And, you know, now you have a daily to do an alliance battle. You're like, well, that's not what this alliance does. For me, if I had a daily to do an AB, oh well, I'm doing it anyway. I have to. Otherwise I get kicked if I miss certain days. But, yeah. It's splitting, much like American politics in the country at the time. There is definitely a split going on in terms of the feelings of these new dailies. And what the fuck is up with my Uru? I need to ask some people about that. That's ridiculous. So, let me know what you think, guys, down in the comments below. Thanks for watching the video, and peace out, everybody.